A Navy captain commands an entire warship with 5,000 sailors. An Army captain commands a rifle company with 200 soldiers. They wear the same rank. They're both called captain. But one has 25 times more power. How is this possible? The answer reveals the 300-year-old rivalry between the United States Army and Navy that created one of the most confusing rank systems in the entire world, and it almost broke our military during World War II. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the same rank can mean completely different things, and how this bizarre system actually shapes American military power today. Let's break it down. First, let's establish what we're talking about. In the United States military, captain is the rank code 03. The O stands for officer, and the 3 means it's the third level of commissioned officer rank. Every branch uses this same pay grade system. An 03 in the Navy makes the same base salary as an 03 in the Army. Same pension, same benefits. On paper, they're identical. But here's where it gets weird. The responsibilities, the command structure, and the actual power that comes with being a captain changes dramatically depending on which uniform you're wearing. In the United States Navy, a captain, that 03 rank, doesn't exist in the way you'd think. What the Navy calls a captain is actually an 06, which is equivalent to a colonel in the Army. But we're not talking about that today. Wait, so what do they call an 03 in the Navy? A lieutenant. Specifically a full lieutenant, or what they sometimes call a lieutenant senior grade, to distinguish from a lieutenant junior grade, which is an 02. I know, it's already confusing. Stay with me. In the Army, an 03 is simply called a captain. This is the rank most people think of when they hear Army captain. It's a company grade officer, meaning they typically command a company, which is about 100 to 200 soldiers. So right off the bat, we've got a naming problem. The rank of captain means something totally different in the Navy than it does in the Army. But the real question is, why do these ranks, even when they're the same pay grade, command such wildly different levels of responsibility? To understand that, we need to go back in time. The answer starts in the 1700s with the British Royal Navy. Back then, naval warfare was completely different from land warfare. A single warship wasn't just a vehicle. It was a floating fortress, a weapon, a supply depot, and a community all in one. Ships carried hundreds of men. They cost as much as entire armies, and they operated independently for months, sometimes years, away from any higher command. The captain of a ship wasn't just leading troops. He was running a mobile city. He had to navigate, manage supplies, maintain discipline, conduct diplomacy in foreign ports, make strategic decisions without orders from above, and command in battle, all while isolated at sea. Because of this, the rank of captain in the Navy carried enormous prestige and responsibility. A naval captain was essentially an independent commander. He had the authority to make life-or-death decisions for hundreds of men without consulting anyone. Meanwhile, on land, the rank of captain evolved very differently. In ground warfare, armies moved in large formations. A captain commanded a company, which was just one small piece of a much larger battalion, which was part of a regiment, which was part of a division. Captains were constantly in communication with higher officers. They didn't operate independently. They followed orders within a strict hierarchy. So even though both ranks were called captain, they represented completely different levels of authority. When the United States created its own military in 1776, we inherited this system directly from the British. The Continental Army used Army ranks. The Continental Navy used naval ranks. And the confusion was baked in from day one. Fast forward to today, and we're still living with that legacy. Let's talk about what a modern Navy lieutenant, that 03, actually does. A Navy lieutenant typically serves as a department head on a warship. Imagine you're on a guided missile destroyer. The ship has 5,000 sailors, advanced radar systems, missile batteries, nuclear propulsion, and $1 billion price tag. The lieutenant might be in charge of the engineering department, managing dozens of sailors who keep the reactors running. Or they might oversee navigation, weapons systems, or supply logistics. They don't command the entire ship. That's the captain, the O6. But they're responsible for critical systems that keep the ship operational. If an O3 lieutenant fails at their job, the entire ship could be compromised. Now let's look at an Army captain. An Army captain commands a company, usually around 100 to 200 soldiers. This is a complete tactical unit. They have infantry, weapons specialists, medics, and logistics personnel all under their direct command. The captain is responsible for training, discipline, mission planning, and leading their soldiers in combat operations. They report to a battalion commander, but they have significant autonomy in how they accomplish their missions. In a combat zone, an Army captain might be operating independently in a remote outpost, making tactical decisions, engaging with local populations, and coordinating with other units. So here's the comparison. Navy Lieutenant, O3, manages a department on a ship with thousands of sailors, critical technical role, part of a larger command structure on one vessel. Army Captain, O3, commands an entire company of soldiers, tactical leadership, independent operational authority. Both are the same pay grade, both are critical to military operations, but the scope of their command is completely different. And it gets even weirder when you bring in the other branches. An Air Force captain, also an O3, might be a pilot flying a fighter jet, a logistics officer managing supply chains, or an intelligence analyst. They don't command large numbers of people, but they control incredibly expensive equipment and make high-stakes decisions. A Marine captain commands a company similar to the Army, but Marine companies are often smaller and more specialized. A Coast Guard lieutenant, yes, they use Navy ranks, might command a small patrol boat with a crew of a dozen people or serve as a department head on a cutter. Same rank across all these branches, totally different jobs. This rank confusion almost caused a disaster during World War II. When the United States entered the war, we had to coordinate massive joint operations involving the Army, Navy, and Marines. Officers from different branches had to work together, and the rank discrepancies created serious problems. Imagine this scenario. An Army captain, commanding 200 soldiers, is working with a Navy lieutenant managing a ship's weapons department. They're the same rank, same pay grade, but the Army captain assumes he's in charge because he commands more people. The Navy lieutenant assumes his technical expertise and ship-based authority give him precedence. Who's actually in command? This happened constantly. Army and Navy officers clashed over authority. The different traditions and expectations around rank created friction in the middle of critical operations. The solution? The military created clearer joint command structures and established that in combined operations, command would be based on the mission, not just rank equivalency. They also started using the pay grade system, O1, O2, O3, to clarify who was actually equivalent across branches. But the fundamental weirdness of the rank system never went away. Today, the U.S. military operates more jointly than ever before. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and even Space Force all work together on complex missions. And every single day, officers have to navigate this confusing rank structure. Understanding these differences isn't just trivia, it's essential to how American military power actually functions. When you hear about a captain in the news, you need to know which branch. Because a Navy captain commanding an aircraft carrier battle group is one of the most powerful military officers in the world. An Army captain leading a company in Afghanistan is incredibly important, but they're operating at a different level of command. And here's the ultimate confusion. When most people hear Navy captain, they're actually thinking of an O6, a full captain in the Navy, equivalent to a colonel in the Army. That's someone who commands an entire ship or a major installation. The O3 Navy lieutenant we've been talking about, most civilians don't even know that rank exists. So when we started this video asking how the same rank can mean totally different things,
The answer is history, tradition, and the fundamental differences between naval and ground warfare. The rank structure we use today was designed in the 1700s for a completely different kind of military. We've adapted it, modified it, and tried to standardize it. But at its core, it's still a system built on British naval and army traditions from 300 years ago. And that's just one example of how military structure shapes American power in ways most people never think about. Next week, I'm breaking down why British generals could give orders to American generals during World War II, even though we were supposed to be equals. The answer reveals how rank inflation almost destroyed Allied command. If you want to understand how military and political power actually works in America, subscribe and hit the notification.